Hi class, welcome to week 6. I'm trying to post this today so you can get an early start on the next week, and also my daughter is coming to visit, so I probably won't have time to do this tomorrow. So week 6, what is this about? So if we look at our evidence-based presentation and assignment, we are on step 3 here. The goals for week 6, we're going to look at various methods used to critically appraise evidence. We're going to analyze research evidence using available appraisal tools. We're going to understand the importance of research quality and effect size, and create a summary table of the review of the research evidence using APA format. So we are looking again at this research here that's supporting our evidence-based practice recommendations that you're going to make. And this is our model here. So when you are doing your evidence-based practice, you can include one of these slides, or if you used another model, you can include a slide of that model. But basically it just says, we are starting with inquiry. Got our PICO question, collecting our evidence, and so now we're critically appraising the evidence, and that's the step of what we're doing for this week. So we've gone back, we've got our EBP question, and some of you have been asking about what the slideshow or the final presentation is going to be. So usually people will choose to do a PowerPoint slideshow. I'm open to alternatives if you'd like to do something else. But for the first couple slides is where you're really going to give some information about your evidence-based practice topic that you chose. So you give an overview of the background of the problem, and you can also have another slide where you just state your PICO question there. You can do this by using the question development tool that we had in that was part of week 2, or you can choose to include the Pollitt and Beck table 2.1. And these were just showing how you develop a PICO and how you got your keywords there. So it's a good idea on your slides to put in references, whenever you used a tool or used some information to help you get to where you are here. So for example, you're going to use this model here, then you can put a reference in for the model. And for the next step, we search some literature to answer the question. So we put in those keywords into databases and came up with some articles that we might consider to support or provide evidence for our proposed practice change that we're going to be doing. So you also learned how to illustrate it in a Prisma diagram. And so then again, having a slide, one with the inclusion, exclusion criteria, a narrative account of how you how you found your studies, and then you can have a slide of the Prisma diagram. And again, that will be good to reference the Prisma diagram, and the reference for that is in was in last week, so that was in week 5. So this week we're going to critically appraise evidence. So we found those studies, those final studies that look like they're eligible, and we're going to go through these studies and make sure that they are robust enough that you are going to change how you practice nursing. So I would really recommend for you to make sure that you've gone through and you've read the 2 articles that are referenced here. These are the step-by-step evidence-based tools. And hold on, I'll pull those up. So this is one of them. This is the evidence-based practice step-by-step critical appraisal of the evidence. And then the other one here is number 2, part 2. So those are really great tools that are going to walk you through this whole process. So the directions of the evidence-based presentation are for step 3, that you're going to take 4 to 6 articles that you found in step 2, and you are going to critically appraise these. So the criteria is that you have at least one quantitative, one qualitative, and one review article. And some people have noticed that they have a pretty objective type EBP proposal, and so that there weren't many qualitative studies done. So what I've just been saying is try to find a qualitative study that is somehow related to your PICO and review that one. If you're having any trouble finding an appropriate qualitative study, just go ahead and email me and I can help you find one. So there's a bunch of different tools that people use to critically appraise research studies. So in our Pollitt and Beck book, we have the box 2.2 that asks some questions. So when you're going through your study, you can be asking these questions. In our Johns Hopkins resources, the PET resources, there's appendices E and F. So those are in the link to the Johns Hopkins Center for Evidence-Based Practice. And there are some rapid appraisal tools. There's Appendix E. This is Research Evidence Appraisal Tool. Appendix F is Non-Research Evidence Appraisal Tool. So those are two that can be used. And if you're doing a systematic review, there's the JBI checklist that you had used in previous weeks to look at your systematic reviews. There are also some critical appraisal tools in these articles that you had to read. So let's look at this one. In the first critical appraise article, they have an example of a rapid critical appraisal checklist. And this is for systematic reviews of clinical interventions. So you can use this checklist if you want to review systematic evidence that you had found when you were doing your review of the literature. I'm sorry, this systematic critical appraisal tool for the systematic reviews is in the second article there by Feinholt and Overholt. So that's in part 2, has the systematic review. If we go to the first one here, this one has a checklist for quantitative studies. So you can use that one as well. And in the first one, we just zoom by right here, the hierarchy of evidence for interventional studies. So here is where you can get your, when you're going to look at your level of evidence, you can reference that you are using this one. And I will show you how to do that in your evidence table. Or you can also reference your Pollitt and Beck book if that's the table that you're going to use, or your hierarchy of evidence pyramid that is in that book. If you're using that one, it should be the same as this one, but just make sure that they're the same and you just reference which one you use. In the Johns Hopkins, they have something that's a little bit different. They have a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3. So that's fine if you use that as how you are assessing level of evidence. You just have to say which one that you're using. I would suggest that you make it easy, and if you're going to use the Johns Hopkins site tools, that you use all of those tools. If you're going to use the tools from this critical step-by-step, these critical appraisal series, that you use the tools that are in these these articles here. So one thing that's going to be really key for this assignment is for you to be able to track your articles and what your findings are from your critical appraisal tools. So to do this, it's really recommended that you use some kind of table. So there's a table that is recommended for the Johns Hopkins. So this is, let me go back here to the tools here. So they have something called Individual Evidence Summary Tool, Appendix G there. So this is a table, and the headers ask for the article number, the author and date, the evidence type, sample size setting, findings that help answer the EBP question, observable measures, the limitations, and the evidence level and quality. So you could use that one if you want. There's also another one that's in the step-by-step articles and in the critical appraisal article number 1. That's number 2. We're in number 1 right now. This is on page 3, I believe. Hold on, let's check this out. It's on page 49, page 3 of the PDF. Right under the critical appraisal guidelines, you go to this creating a study evaluation table, and you click on that link there. So when you click on that link, you come to the evaluation table template. And what I've actually done is taken this template here and put it into a Word document. So this one is really helpful. It gives you the categories that you're going to have across the top, and then it gives you a description of what you're going to put in each column. So again, you can choose to use whatever tools you like. Different people prefer to use different ones. I guess if I were going to tell you, my preference would be that you read the step-by-step series and that you use the tools in those series there. I think they really make for a nice instructional tool, and they clearly spell out how you can use these critical appraisal tools, and then how you can put all of your findings into one table. But you are free to use whatever ones you like. So here's the table that I made for you guys, and I will upload it into week 6. And it again is just the same table that is in the step-by-step guidelines there. So if we're looking at this first column here, we are going to say, well, what should we put in this column? So I'm reading a abstract or a full text article that I found when I was doing my literature review last week. And so in this table, what you're going to put in here is the citation and the conceptual framework, if there's one available here. Don't worry, usually most studies don't have conceptual frameworks. So the design method would go in the third column. So you're going to say describe design and how study was carried out. The next column, you're going to have number and characteristics of patients and any attrition rate. Did people drop out at a high rate and why? The next column is list and define independent and dependent variables. The next one, measurement, is scales used to measure outcome variables, including their name, the author of the scale, data, and validity and reliability. Data analysis is the next column, so some statistics here. And the next one is findings. And the most important one probably is the last one, where you're saying the strengths and limitations of the study, and then you're going to put in the level of evidence. So I want to chunk these videos out a little bit, so I'm going to stop with this video here, and I'm going to I'm going to give you an example of how to do this in the next video. So just remember for this week, we're critically appraising 4 to 6 studies, 1 qualitative, 1 quantitative, and 1 systematic review. You're going to find critically appraisal tools that align with these. So for a qualitative one, you're going to maybe use the qualitative appraisal tool that's in these critical appraisal step-by-step guidelines. The systematic review ones, you're going to use the JBI checklist or the questions that are in the step-by-step articles, etc. And then you're going to appraise them, and then you're going to write the results of your appraisal in a big table. Okay, so this is probably enough to have in one video, so I will post another one with the example of this. And don't forget, guys, that there are some great examples in the step-by-step paper itself. The critical appraisal one, number 1, you can see an example of this evaluation table here. So you have the author, the framework, see none, so they usually don't have one. The design and methods, so systematic review is SR here, and they should have put the abbreviations at the bottom. Yes, so all the abbreviations are down here. And the purpose, randomized control trial here, the purpose of it. Sample and setting, they put in the number. So for a systematic review, the N was 18 studies. For the randomized control trial, they had 23 hospitals for this one. They go through and they say the independent variable, the dependent variable. So some great examples right within that article. Okay, good luck, and I'll see you in the discussion post.